Sometimes I wonder if people really realize what it is they say whenever they say it. I was in a discussion last night, and sometimes I'll refer to the Bible, and it's really just for philosophy and ideas, and you know, and people don't believe that Jesus actually ever existed, whereas they will say that other scholars existed. You know, that Aristotle existed and things like that, and they go back a lot further than Jesus. The only reason why they don't believe in Jesus is because he had other attached stories, and then they have a tendency to also believe things like Buddha and you know. Which were also men, and had special magic associated with them. What is the reason why you would jump up on Jesus, say either that he doesn't exist, or what you can simply fall upon that you should say is that um, he might not actually be the Christ, and that's where the philosopher um, where the philosopher becomes someone greater than man, and you can about the worst you can ever do is to say that the philosophy doesn't exist or that it's constructed from other sources of information. And this lady came up to me. We were having a discussion, and inside of it, I started referring to Jesus and things like that. And she says, "I don't know if I can believe in any kind of book that was written by man." And I went, until after the conversation, I kind of realized she pretty much eliminated all sources of information that might be written of all kinds of things that can be taught. She pretty much just eliminated the entire educational system in that statement, and I don't think she really spent enough time thinking about what she actually said. I think I think what she was saying was, I don't believe in religion that could be written with a book written by man. I think that was the thing, is that she was saying that she doesn't believe in religion. I mean, she doesn't believe that religion is useful or things like that. And she doesn't really understand what religion is. She doesn't understand what philosophy is. And she's trying to produce a logical, kind of a logical argument, and she can't, because she's so eager by the emotion and the feeling that is driving her distaste for Christianity, that she's going to make a logical misstep and say something that is completely illogical, that would say that she doesn't trust any sources of information, to say that there is no truth. There are people that say there is no truth. Well, or they'll say the truth is relative, which is relativism. And relativism fails when you say you can create your own truth. Relativism fails whenever you get so far away from the truth, or from someone's truth, to someone else who doesn't believe in what you believe, and will not take the approach of agreeing to disagree, or to believe that the things you say are opinion. Will see what they believe as in a great source of information and truth, and you don't believe in truth. They may cause to kill you. It may threaten your life. It wouldn't come from a Christian. It would come from a Muslim, or it'd come from somebody who is willing to stick up for what they believe in and kill the other person in order to maintain their position, which is really not a way of solving a problem. I mean, it's not all that important that people who were never going to want to believe anything, or ever want to take any kind of philosophy in, or are just directly opposed, or juxtaposed, or opposed to anything that anybody might bring up and not even give it a thought, because what in their mind that's backed by is a lot of hocus pocus that they don't believe in, and they wouldn't even accept the philosophy, and so they're going to construct an argument, either because they might have vulnerabilities in themselves, and they might think that all Christians are out to kind of make everybody subject to their viewpoint, subject to try. And the thing is they're just really, because of that distaste and discomfort of being around people who were Christians in the past. It's just like having an abusive relationship. You don't ever expect to find any truth there. And the problem is that there are people out there who just don't understand what it is they believe, or they don't understand philosophy, and they ruin other people's as a result of dealing with it. I did blow up in the conversation, but it was mainly because she wouldn't listen to me, and I listened to her, but she didn't listen to me. She was be talking over me, and I'd talk over her, and it really. And the other thing is, I try to point out, this is something called apologetics. Apologetics is all about maintaining a calm, civil environment to discuss philosophy and ideas, and which is what philosophy is just ideas. It's ideas that are profound and leave people thinking about it, the theories and the things that have been seen to be true, true statements. And such philosophy is intertwined with stories that give representation to the philosophy. And there are people out there that are so intent of disproving the stories that they won't accept that they don't understand that the stories, at the very least, are just to demonstrate the philosophy. And if you try to eliminate the philosophy or the ideas or ideals, just because the stories are not believable, and I think to some degree that the stories that seem to be unbelievable are provided for a couple of reasons. One is to ask that somebody have a jump of faith to actually believe that the stuff that's presented in the book is something to live by. The stories being inspirational, not being much different than reading a comic book in a comic store, where people have this desire to that identify with superheroes in comic books, but then will try to, because they understand the ideas and the ideals, they want to present it as new philosophy when really it's based on other philosophy, and myth and things like that, Greek myth. And there are people that believe that the Greek myth is not really a myth, and for the same reasons that we don't that we the Christian side of things believe that Jesus was not a myth either, and other people perceive it as myth. The thing is that you're going to find it really hard to drive through your point whenever it's backed by opinion, and not paying much attention to the statistic. I have a hard time with that word, and even though I did take a course in it, the statistical improbability that there was a non-existent human that backed these ideals. You were not going to be able to convince or push through any kind of following, if there isn't an individual involved in the the creation of the philosophy. And the thing about Jesus that makes him so unique among all the other kind of philosophers is he had a troop of 12 men that were following him around, taking in different aspects on which they resonate because their worldviews were starkly different, and that their position in life and the kind of lifestyles they had were different. So they're all going to resonate on something different. And I mean, how many religious figures can you think of, or even philosophers can you think of, that were going to create a band of 12 guys, pick 12 guys, because you didn't have access to a precise recorder that would record all of your information. That was how he dealt with the the lack of access to proper recording facilities. It was the earliest in which somebody could start such and to understand that you needed 12 guys to follow you around, to resonate and use the philosophy, and to understand it and be eager to find it out and figure it out. Um, those people are going to become the receptacles for information, to then present it to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world wasn't there to experience the person that generated, the very least was the thought to be the philosophy, but at the very most the understanding of what these guys believed was that Jesus was the Christ, the God with us, um, and that the Jesus story was something more than just a mere man. But Jesus is highly more accessible than any other religious figures that are elated to God's status, where the stories are more magical and less um, less precise and more and less believable as being that Jesus was human. I mean, how many people look to Buddha and um, to Muhammad as being mere man. Um, the difference being in the case with Jesus was that um, Jesus' father was not Joseph, but God, and that his mother was Mary. And Joseph. I mean, supposedly Mary had, um, and I say supposedly so that there are people that don't believe. So I'd say supposedly Mary had a baby that um, was seeded by God and not by Joseph. And Joseph was trying to protect Mary's reputation by not letting people know that she was pregnant with a baby, and he wouldn't associate with her until the right time at which people would not look down upon Mary that she might have had childbirth out of wedlock. And he was um, trying to avoid bringing harm to her by taking her as a wife, so that people won't draw the conclusion that I think that was what he did. And I mean, I tend to be imprecise about the Bible, and it's only because I don't if I don't um, refer to the Bible, if I don't refer in kind of an implied, an imprecise way, it may be because I have the tendency to be distracted, that if I go into the resource, I might lose where I'm at when I'm talking. I believe that the things that I'm talking about are true, which is kind of a fallacy in a way, but it's really going to be something that if you don't believe it's true, you go look it up. Or you might just believe it's not true in the first place, And if you don't look it up, I mean, who's dealing with false information? I mean, who's going to accept a lie? Um, what I'm doing is I'm actually challenging you by bringing forth to you the ideas, and then it's up to you to determine whether or not what I'm saying is absolute truth. Because if you don't do that with everybody, or the absolute truth or philosophy or anything, or just the ideas, if you are so bent on believing that because you don't give references and to things, you don't want to get distracted from what you're having to say, um, all that, and you're distracting the guy who's talking. And to what end are you doing that? So the thing is that he is trying to communicate an idea, and doesn't want to be interrupted by simple, stupid discussion like grammar or the use of words, or that you didn't use the right lexical definition, or the right words, or any kind of other thing you might cause to distract a guy that's expressing ideas. Okay, when you do such things, you are siding with somebody who is seeking for an unproductive discussion. Your ears are pricked up, and your mind is stuck on something that you believe would add truth and value, or support for what the person is trying to say. So, but the thing is that you're so calloused to what it is that's being said, that you're distracted by simple, stupid things. You can't even accept the ideas or the ideals. And that may be okay. That may just be that you have a tendency not to believe any information is real or relevant. And just as this girl, um, she was resistant to um, uh, having somebody draw in truth and philosophy from something that she believed to be religion, and that because she believed it to be only religion, that it wasn't even relevant to bring it forth as a scaffolding on which to develop structured thought. And because of that, she's going to have the tendency to say stupid shit like she did, which was that she didn't trust any source of information or text as being relevant at all. And she's also going to fall into the pit of relativism that might get her killed, and also might um, water down the things that give us freedoms in this country, um, all in this search for things that are favorable to your viewpoint. Because there are people out there that have a hard time accepting things that are not favorable to their lifestyle, and they don't want to believe in such things. They don't want to test ideas or ideals. They want to dwell on things that they prefer to do, and I do that myself. But the thing is that I risk being damned um, by doing such things. And it's really kind of me kind of sticking a stick in the or creating the potential to have like a cog in the system. I'm really just saying that there's something, a part of me that is a flaw, but it isn't a flaw that I see as necessary to fix in order to prevent me that if it prevents other people to believing anything that I have to say, or trusting anything I have to say, then they're really just probably people that are easily distracted by anything that might be seen as false. So they figure if you produce what is perceived by them one lie, then everything you have to say is going to be a lie, or that a lot of things are going to be untrustworthy, and and then you're going to start to attribute all that with religion. Um, you know, it doesn't become religion until you live by it, and also that you believe it's true, and then you come to believe that because the reason it is true is because it comes from a source that is something more than a man. And so by spending a lot of time not thinking about what she had to say, which is when you say something as damning as that, you're going to be subject to more criticism than the person you had criticism towards in saying the statement. And so it's really it's laughable whenever somebody says things like, I don't trust information sources that are written by man, which is, I believe, what she said. I may have completely destroyed it, but I got the feeling that she just didn't think long enough about what she had to say. And then such people also come up with these ideas. The vaccine doesn't work for COVID. Then this other guy said we've had COVID before. Then the thing is that one is saying that the vaccine doesn't work, are completely ignoring the fact that in the medical community, they've 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 collected information about the people who have died from it, and many of them, 99% of the people that they got proper data from about whether or not they took the virus, those people said they didn't get vaccinated and died from COVID. It's 99% of the cases. So how can you refute that the vaccine doesn't work? And then people to say that if you got the vaccine, that you're still risking spreading on, which is bullshit. If it's proven, if they've determined through tests that it's working, then that's something better than not having anything. And these are people that probably go to doctor for a diagnosis, and then the doctor prescribes a medicine for them, but they will probably not believe the medicine to be of any benefit, so they won't take it. I mean, what can you say for such people that would be of any benefit to them if they're completely not receptive to the idea that there are people out there that have the capacity to help and end problems? What's really clouding their thought is that they are not employed and they're fearful for ending up on the streets. Maybe it's necessary that they do end up on the streets so they can understand homeless people and they can understand the poor people that are on the streets in order to bring about change, But because their fear and their lack of faith and all the things that in faith, what I mean is the lack of faith to believe that you will be able to continue existing long after you rise above your fear of falling low and into the gutter of society. The best lessons you can learn can come from falling down on hard times. That's when you develop a strength and the strength to continue and to build yourself up to have the scaffolding structure by which to get back on your feet again and create something that has more staying power, okay? And that may start with a belief in God. But the people who believe there is no hope for the future are not much more different than the teenagers that don't have a way of to go and then believe that the rest of their life is going to either be boring or a painful experience. They're not willing to learn anything, so they turn around and kill themselves. And it's really just a very weak stance, okay? And whether, I mean, for the longest time, I haven't been able to survive properly. Even they were able to survive. And I'm talking really about this girl that said she was involved with real ethical work, the good work ethic. I I would say that I was more afraid, more fearful, and it really, in my case, is really driven by um, it's driven by my weakness in that I believe in ideas and the retaining of information, and I try to better myself in the areas where I lack. I mean, in where in